Greta Thunberg was born on January 3rd, 2003, in Sweden. She is a Swedish environmental activist who travels the world inspiring others to take action towards stopping climate change. She has already influenced many students to strike against it after her speech addressing the 2018 United States Climate Change Conference. Greta Thunberg's actions have spread and inspired millions of people to protest from all over the world because of social media. She has been seen on almost all platforms of social media, whether it's Instagram, conferences, strikes, TED Talks, and so on. Greta Thunberg spoke at a TED Talk in January 2019 about the possible consequences if action isn't taken soon. She discusses the fact that no one is addressing the climate emergency we are in. She says, "No one is acting as if we are in a crisis." Even most climate scientists and politicians keep flying around the world eating meat and dairy. This is why Thunberg continues to pressure leaders and lawmakers about taking action towards climate change. In her speech at the UN summit in Madrid, she calls out world leaders saying, "There is no sense of urgency whatsoever. Usually in an emergency, you change your behavior and not look away." She asks, how are we, the people, supposed to understand that we are facing a real crisis if the people are not fully aware of what is really happening to our planet? Then there is no reason for them to work towards change. Greta Thunberg is one of the only people who admit we are entering a crisis and working towards a solution. She travels the world to meet with world leaders and to speak at assemblies to enforce solutions for climate change. She says, "For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying you are doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You are failing us." But the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say, we will never forgive you. Fridays for Future is where students throughout Europe take time out of school to participate in demonstrations to demand change. It has now spread all over the world and involves 100,000 students. This is one way we can work towards a healthy future for us and the following generations. One of God's social teachings is caring for His creation. How are we supposed to do that if no one admits we are entering a mass extinction? Every day, Greta is speaking out about how we can eliminate this climate crisis because she cares about the world God gave us. She says, "You must unite behind the science. You must take action. You must do the impossible, because giving up can never be an option." Global warming is causing hundreds of species to go extinct every single day. If something isn't done soon, it will be too late to return to the way things were before. Climate change and global warming are not only affecting the plants and animals living on Earth, but is affecting us humans as well. She says, "You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet, I am one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. She is preaching about one of the most important social Catholic teachings, which is the life and dignity of the human person. She is helping us discover ways in which we can successfully protect ourselves and the lives of those around us. Greta Thunberg lives a low-carbon life, which means she is vegan and doesn't fly. Many of her trips sailing across the ocean are posted on her Facebook and Instagram pages. On November 12th, she set sail across the Atlantic Ocean on a boat from the United States to Madrid. She posted a picture with a woman who offered to take her to Madrid after she was stranded in another country due to a change in location. She eventually reached Madrid, where she made her speech at the UN summit. In the 2018 United States Climate Conference, she says, "We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?" Politicians and global leaders are making it seem as though change is being made, but in fact, there has been little change. Not to mention, it is never brought up in the news or in the media. What doesn't make sense is why we keep ignoring the sustainability crisis we are in. The Paris Agreement is one step world leaders have taken to work towards lowering the Earth's warming rate. Additionally, the agreement's goal is to increase the ability of countries to deal with the impact of climate change and make financial adjustments with low emissions and climate resilient pathways. However, no one speaks about climate justice, which is extremely necessary in order to make this agreement work on a global scale. That means wealthier countries need to lower their emissions within the next 12 years. In her TED Talk from January 2019, she states that aiming for a 1.5 degrees Celsius warming rate would significantly lower the climate impacts. However, big changes will have to come quick in order for this to be successful. Air pollution is hiding a warming possibility as high as 0.5 to 1.1 degrees Celsius. Therefore, we need to reduce our carbon footprint by a significant amount. The average person's carbon footprint is 2.4 metric tons back in 2014. That is a 7% increase in 25 years. Statistically, we have about 12 years to act until the changes of global warming will become irreversible and out of human control. Will the actions we take today be enough to stop the direct impacts of climate change? Will it make our lives better or safer? How will the actions we take affect the future generations? These are all questions people ask environmental scientists every single day. However, a lot of people turn to hope. They hope the crisis will go away on its own. However, action comes first, according to Greta Thunberg. She says, "Once we start to act, hope is everywhere. If we act today and decrease our carbon footprint, it could save our lives. One of, if not the only way to stop this rapid increase is to ban the use of fossil fuels completely. In poor countries, people will have the opportunity to increase their standard of living. However, that means higher costs to building houses, hospitals, schools, electricity, clean drinking water, and so on. Within the next 50 years, cities will be flooded, tens of thousands of people will be dead, and cities will be leveled from torn down buildings. In Thunberg's 2019 TED Talk, she spoke about how she was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, OCD, and selective mutism. This means she only speaks if she feels as though it is necessary. She says, "This is one of those moments." She also talks about how those who are on the spectrum, most things are black and white. They aren't good at lying and don't partake in much socializing. Therefore, we must realize how climate change is the most important issue of them all. There is no gray when it comes to existing. We either do or we don't. What we do or do not do will affect my children and grandchildren. Every day, we use 100 million barrels of oil, but there are no laws to change that. We cannot save our planet by playing by the rules, because the rules need to change while there is still time. She says, Greta Thunberg, everything needs to change, and it has to start today. Thank you.